Oh, and there we are, I can see it now. That's very impressive, isn't it? So I suppose the time to get out, now I know exactly where I'm going because it's up there, so the time to get out will be probably at the next bus stop, which is what this is, so I'll get out. It wasn't hard to find it. Okay, looks like that's the way to cross over there. So even back in the old advanced photo system, even though it was a film-based system, you could have much broader, and you could also choose whether you wanted broad or not broad ones. And then now, when you've got HD in a choice of 16:9, or the old 2:3 or whatever it was, you can choose now as well whether you want it more cathedral, or what is it, classical shape, you might call it, because of the old classical proportions, or more of the old long and thin idea. And certainly I like the broader, not so deep option. You can always move your camera and get more of that natural field of vision in as you would with your neck, or eyes as well, without moving the neck. There's all sorts of ways in which you can suddenly turn your attention to something. I like it, obviously, if I can make my films as perhaps a better way is to go up this side, because it will be a better view of it coming up. Otherwise the buildings will get even more in the way of it. Yeah, the supermarket's a supermercat. That's so I can see the crane that was on top of it. Senior Centre Residencia. Lots of things are in Catalan. One of the ways you can easily tell Catalan, quite apart from all the X's and things it's got all over the place, is the fact that when it does put an accent on, the accent tends to be downwards facing, like the grave, whereas the aigu is more the thing that you see. Oh, it's green. That guy, this is a headless one. He's got no head. Totus festum, pax solidaris pera festis. Rays diving. So, lottery here like in any place. Oh, here's the UNICEF office. I'm not a big United Nations fan, but I kind of make an exception for UNICEF. Maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I should just say, well, let's have children's charities which are separate to the United Nations, but, well, it's difficult to deny kids anything, isn't it? I wouldn't want to stand in the way of any initiatives like that. So I do buy UNICEF cards sometimes, and I did offer UNICEF an audit, actually completely at cost, which means I take on myself the risk that I could have been making a profit, and I didn't. For the time I just didn't just covered the cost. They didn't take it. Maybe somebody else is offering it under value. Maybe the impression I got was simply that they were busy with other questions and didn't have time to decide on their change of auditor. I suppose the offer would be still open indefinitely for them. I think it's already something. If somebody offers something really at cost, I don't mean when they say, "Oh, this is costing me the same," because you never know when you might get you might have to turn away once you've committed to that. Turn away business which is profitable. So at least you're not paying extra for it because you're covering the people's costs. But it could be quite a significant sacrifice. So it's not to be sniffed at when somebody offers your charity a job at cost. I would say it's not like they're necessarily trying to. Because when they say, oh yes, we'll do it completely for free, not only are they paying for the cost of the auditor, but also they're also taking the risk that they could be engaging their auditors. If I was going to do it completely free or undervalue from the cost of the auditors, well, I think it would have to, for the sake of the organisation, it would have to come with a lot of positive spin, a lot of positive. I'd have to be on the list of their sponsors, because that's the way that corporations do things. I know it's not Christian, but that's the way I can't run a secular business that's owned by people that have different beliefs, all just according to the way Christians are told to run their personal lives. It's a higher standard of moral gearing, and I can't hold non-believers to that. I don't intend to. I don't think I was intended to by Jesus to do that. When dealing with people's affairs who are not necessarily followers, or who mix between followers and non-followers. The yoke that the unbeliever is expected to carry is not the same as the yoke that the believer is expected to carry. Although the yoke of Jesus Christ is a light yoke, it doesn't. Well, it's not as light as the person that doesn't believe anything. It's certainly lighter than that of the legalist who seeks to please God with his own righteousness. But it's nowhere near as light as the yoke of the person that believes nothing, who has no moral compass whatsoever. So. That's interesting. Why? That's a very important question. There's a method of getting to truth about something, or presenting truth about something, which is called asking why 5 times, or asking 5 whys, whereby you basically ask why, like a 5-year-old child does, or a 9-year-old or whatever, 5 times in a row. So somebody might say, well, I can't do this or that, and you say, well, why? And you say, well, it's because of this law or that law, and you say, well, why is the law like this? And you get into quite philosophical questions soon, and then you're covering all bases, because of course you can always say the answer to the question why, the initial answer to the question why, can be all sorts of different things. You could have, for example, why is the Sagrada Familia, which we now see here, why does it look like that? Well, because Gaudi made it. So why did Gaudi choose to do it like that? Well, another level of answer is because he wanted to reflect certain spiritual realities in his art. And then you say, well, why? Well, what are these spiritual realities? And then you'd have to go into, all sorts of things like biblical symbolism and history of art in order to answer the question on that level. And then you might carry on asking why, and the answers become to do with the actual properties of materials. Why didn't he make it twice as big? Well, the column wouldn't stand up because it wouldn't be able to be strong enough to maintain the air pressure from the wind. You could get into climate, you could get into the properties of building materials, the availability, cost, economic factors, spiritual factors, philosophical factors, aesthetical factors, all manner of things. And when you ask the question why over the same matter long enough, well, then you cover a number of the bases and start to achieve a better understanding, and also communicate maybe things better, because you have frequently asked questions. There's a nice little bird, isn't there? They have obviously frequently asked questions about things going on in the internet the whole time. And but what might be more interesting as a format is to actually have 5 whys about this, and then just have a kind of Socratic dialogue where somebody just keeps asking why about everything that comes out of the previous question, until you actually arrive at an answer which is pretty 360 degrees way of looking at things. So here we go. We're going to get a little bit closer to this. I'm looking at the battery, I'm looking at the time that I've got on this video. This has been single take now for the last 38 minutes, but I expect if I've held true to the things I was advised to do, that that'll have been about 4 different films since I started. There's some beautiful things here to take by normal camera, so that's what I will now do. I'll stop this and we can explore this a little bit with the pictures that I'll take with my Canon 600D, also known as the Rebel, T3 Rebel in the United States. Same camera, different name. So we'll have a look at it and more close up, and with those trees as well, in the way that I can do on a different machine better than this. You can't hear anything but on it, except for the licensed music, which no doubt anyway will be claimed by about 6 dozen people. But I assure you I'll be using licensed music. If I use music at all in this series, it'll all be licensed fully and claimed on anyway, because that's the ridiculous thing. I mean, this is the outside of the building. It's a work of art, but it's public, yes, so it's meant to be filmed. Going on the inside and filming, well, probably not, and then distributing it is probably not right. So since they don't allow it, I might honour that. But I think that since I just couldn't be dealing with a long-winded website that with all the different options of what you have to take and what you have to do and plan out everything in advance, so it's just so heavy that I just couldn't be doing with it. You know, you've got to use virtually a pilgrimage to go on their website. But nevertheless, let's change to the other camera.